There are many generic things that keep everyone up at night, but here are some type-specific things. I'm going to give one positive and one negative reason for each type duo. ESTPs and ESFPs. Positive. SE-DOMs, when they're in a healthy place, tend to live life in such a way where they fall right asleep as soon as they go to bed, or they aren't doing much, thinking in bed, so to speak. Anyway, they might be laying in bed thinking about the fun activities they've done that day, and also partially planning their next day. Yes, that's right, both of these types can and actually do plan sometimes. They like to structure things, so they can hit the ground running. So I can imagine them pondering their plans for the next day, so when they get up, they can get straight into action. Negative. Probably some vague worry about the future, and all of the uncertainty that comes with that. In the moment, they are unstoppable, but when they are stationary, so to speak, they have time to start thinking, and pondering, and speculating, which for them can be dangerous. When they can have a direct impact on something, then all is well, but just laying there and pondering the future is usually going to be worrying for them. ENFJs and ESFJs. Positive. People and relationships will feature in both their positive and negative thoughts, because it is such a focus for them. They get great joy from investing in their relationships, so they'll often be looking forward to plans they've made with the people in their life. However, when those things are in a good place, they'll very much be pondering their own projects and creative pursuits, things that are a huge part of these types' lives. Negative. Negative would be them thinking and worrying about their relationships, whether something they've said has been misconstrued by someone, whether they are keeping up to date with someone in a way that isn't offending them, and generally ruminating on people's opinions of them. The endlessly irritating complexity of interpersonal relationships is enough to keep anyone up at night. But when you're naturally so focused on them, as these two types are, then it can be greatly amplified. ENTPs and ENFPs. Positive. Being struck by ideas, solutions, and projects they can start. That might not just keep them awake, but will cause them to get out of bed and start writing down these ideas, or just working on them right away. Their minds are constantly buzzing at all times, but when a buzzing mind coincides with laying motionless in bed, it can seem way more intense. Negative. Worries about commitments, small details they may have missed, and the paperwork and bureaucracy of life that they need to do. Things like dotting the T's and crossing the I's, or something like that. Or doing your taxes. Areas where small details, easily overlooked by these types, can catch you out in a serious way. Essentially, it's the feeling that you've forgotten something. ISFJs and ISTJs. Positive. Perhaps reminiscing about their day and the things they've gotten done will probably be a decent part of it. Also double checking that there's nothing outstanding that needs to be done, that they might have missed. Laying in bed knowing that everything is in order, under control, and as it should be, is a deeply satisfying thing for them. Negative. In a similar way to INTJs and INFJs, these two types might worry about any upcoming situations in which there is a lot of uncertainty in their lives. They like to get things sorted and settled. So if they have lots of unresolved things in their life, there'll be a sense of restlessness until those things are done. There's a decent chance they could ruminate on these things in the dark hours of night. INTJs and INFJs. Positive. Planning their activities for tomorrow and envisioning things. Not necessarily in a precise, scheduled way, but pondering their path in life and how the pieces are coming together. In fact, I think that both of these types make a lot of mental progress, letting their plans percolate in their future-focused minds. So laying in bed thinking can be strangely productive for them. Negative. Worrying about upcoming situations in which they will need to perform, so to speak. It could be a meeting, a party, God forbid. Going on a date, or even just some conversation that they need to have. These types sometimes struggle with performance anxiety, so to speak. Times where it's about reacting, adapting, and improvising. ISFPs and INFPs. Positive. Both of these types are happy to be in their own worlds at times, so laying awake at night and occupying Fantasyland is always going to be somewhat appealing to them. It can also be a time where many creative thoughts and insights come to them. I've noticed that both of these types are great when it comes to gratitude, a very underrated thing. So I can imagine them simply reflecting on what they have in their life and the people in their life and being grateful for all of it. Negative. Probably worrying about organizing their lives, and also some nebulous sense that something might be off in their life, that they don't feel like they're in the right place, so to speak, and that there's a clash between their values and their circumstances. If I can add an anecdotal point as well, I have heard from both of these types that sometimes the state of the world can really get in their heads, almost like getting their brains hijacked by empathizing or sympathizing with the plight of whoever it might be. They are very much moved and impacted by those things. In that sense, they have to be careful about the news and stories in general that they take in. ENTJs and ESTJs. Positive. The minds of ENTJs and ESTJs are like machines, constantly churning, calculating, and crafting plans of attack in their life. Sometimes to them, it can feel like there's so much to be done that skipping a few hours of sleep here and there is totally justifiable. So just like the NE-DOMs, both of these types might be kept awake at night because their minds are just racing with plans, ideas, schemes, strategies, and lists of tasks they want to get done. Negative. Some kind of existential crisis about whether their low-key workaholic tendencies are resulting in them losing out on other things in life. Like many highly active people, it's those quiet moments where you're alone with your thoughts that you start to evaluate things through a different lens, all of a sudden. So for these types, it will be thoughts about whether they are getting meaning from what they're doing, as opposed to just succeeding in other ways. ISTPs and INTPs. Positive. Both of these types, not just INTPs, are highly intuitive. Lots of their understanding and insight comes from simply letting things percolate in their minds. There's the active part, where they are studying, analysing, and picking things apart. Then there's the more passive aspect, where things are floating around in their intellectual brain soup. If there is a particular problem that they're trying to solve, that will be on their minds as well. This stuff will definitely occupy their late night thoughts, assuming they're in bed at all, and not just being night owls. Negative. Typical negative thoughts will probably be about relationships and personal social issues, pondering whether they've made a mistake in that realm or analysing some issue that they've had with a person. Both of these types tend to resist having things imposed upon them. They desire and need independence in various ways, so plotting their escape from any trapping situations will probably keep them up at night as well. If you are laying awake at night watching this video, then that is fate telling you you need to subscribe. Also feel free to check out the links below, where you'll find things including my personal social media and the Love Who Discord server, which I would highly recommend joining.